necessarily mean cute as in like Chuzzle from PopCap kind of cute little dribble things with eyes that follow the cursor around, although that's a definite trend you'll see in a lot of casual games. By cute I mean more old school 2D look to the game. You'll see an interesting phenomenon if you ever watch a casual gamer come upon a 3D world with sort of a camera-enabled view where you can control the camera, and sometimes their brains will literally switch off when they try to control these things. They don't seem to react well to the full movement inside the 3D world, and I think that's going to change over time. Okay, I think as the current group of kids gets exposed to these type of games and builds up 3D spatial awareness at an earlier age, I think a casual gamer in 10 to 20 years' time is going to be able to cope with a little bit more in its gameplay environments. But what I'm concerned with, and I guess what we're all concerned with, is selling games in the next few years. And for the moment, I think Jason Kapalka from PopCap calls his audience his group of soccer mums, and that's kind of the audience you're traditionally selling casual games to. There's a lot of soccer mums out there. Lastly, the interface. Casual games tend to have a simple, intuitive interface. If you can't write it in a flash game with a simple mouse and one button click, it really has no place in a casual game. Your Wii controller is a very good tool for running casual games. They're very easy interfaces to pick up because casual gamers don't want to learn a whole interface and a whole bunch of button presses. Right. Casual games. Let's have a look at the hardcore ones. Well, depth in a hardcore game. We're really looking at something kind of complex. Now we're talking real-time strategy games and first-person shooters that have weapons, that have primary, secondary and tertiary modes of fire that can be switched between. These are games with a lot of depth and a lot of strategic play in them. Your hardcore gamer, as far as gameplay goes, he'll be looking for a challenge. He won't be looking for these little nuggets of entertainment. He'll be looking for a whole broad area of entertainment, a sort of large black box that you can poke in various ways to try to discover all sorts of interesting facets about the game. You know, I'm guessing I'm speaking to largely a hardcore audience here. We're kind of like the gourmets of the gaming world in a way. We like our games to have a lot of different flavours, whereas your casual gamer is more like the kid who enjoys candy. Simple things. Graphics in a hardcore game, quite lush environments. You know, you're talking big 3D worlds. You aren't even going to get a first-person shooter seriously looked at these days unless you're sort of competing with games like Crisis and competing with Bioshock. You know, really lush, beautiful environments that hardcore gamers are demanding they be in 3D. And lastly, interface. The interface of a hardcore game is quite often not intuitive. You have to have a look at the latest set of keyboard shortcuts like Command and Conquer 3. There's nothing intuitive about that. Okay, that's an evolution of a genre that has been building up for the last 10 or 15 years. It's all sorts of ideas that have gone forward, just kept being added to and added to and added to until the latest, greatest game in that genre has come out. It's got everything in there, including the kitchen sink. So let's compare and contrast those two kinds of games. And what you can see immediately is almost everything is at loggerheads. You've got the shallow versus the complex, the little nuggets of entertainment versus the deep challenge. You've got cute graphics versus lush graphics, and intuitive interfaces versus interfaces that have evolved over many, many years. And honestly, when I was first drawing this and thinking of things in this way, I looked at this and thought, man, how are we ever going to do a game that appeals to both camps? I mean, is this just whereabouts in this diagram is the gameplay going to sit? I mean, if I try to aim in the middle, what's going to happen is the casual gamers, they're just going to vote with their feet and walk. They're going to play it. It's going to be too hard for them, too challenging. The control's going to be too difficult. And you don't hear from those guys. They just walk away and they try someone else's game and buy that. You don't even hear any complaints from the casual guys. They literally do vote with their feet. And the hardcore guys, on the other hand, you'll hear everything from those. They'll be telling you exactly how much your game sucks if you're trying to sort of go in the middle of it. They'll be calling it dumbed down, all sorts of terrible things. And they're not going to buy the game. And even worse is that the hardcore guys are quite often the influencers who will influence other people, sort of the people on the fringe of hardcore to buy your game. And you've got to try to win a good portion of them over to really sort of get over that kind of tipping point that Bioshock reached, where just when the game came out, everybody had to have it because it just received so much press from the hardcore people on the press. So I think we sort of realised from that aiming in the middle of this is just no good. But what about if we sort of aimed some on the left and some on the right? So it's a bit of a scattergun approach where we kind of made shallow gameplay that was quite challenging. I'm not sure how you do that. Mix them up a bit. Well, once again, I think as soon as the casual people strike some facet of the game they don't like, they're just both going to walk away. And the hardcore people, well, they're just going to pick on you straight away again every single time, and they're going to find that one thing they don't like and tell you how much it sucks. So, my thought is that the way that we do games that appeals to both hardcore and casual people is that we don't aim for any one point on this diagram. We try to hit both ends of those arrows simultaneously. So we try to create games that at first seem shallow, but are actually complex. Games that are challenging, but have a lot of little nuggets of entertainment for those casual people. The cute and lush graphics one's still a bit of a difficulty for me. Honestly, I don't know how to solve that except to provide really nice looking 2D old school graphics, provide that kind of old school feel that the hardcore people can at least relate to. And as far as interfaces go, to provide something that's innovative, so that it can be intuitive and solve the problems of what the hardcore people want as well. Alright, so now we're going to get to the meaty part of the talk. Going to chat about, first of all, how little tricks we can do to casual games to make them appeal to hardcore people. And then after that, we're going to look at the hardcore games and show some little tricks that we can do to make them appeal to the casual folk. Now, all these tricks, they're all good game design, I feel. They're all good things to add into any game. And regardless of whether you add these things into hardcore or casual games, they're good design elements. They're always going to work. So, much on my big secret, first of all. I've been making a living out of this for about a quarter of a century now. It's persistence. It's taking the idea that you find in an RPG, where you have a character who can stays with you for the entire game. He levels up, he gains and collects items. You take that and you just simply throw that into a casual game. Puzzle Quest was a prime example of a game that's done that and it's done very, very well. I don't know if you've played a fun little flash game called Castle Attack. Very simple game. You've got a castle on the board, you've got some guys that run your castle, and you buy little towers and things to sit on the side of the road to shoot these guys as they start to approach it. And when you sort of complete a level, you can start to level up all those things. So it's got an element of persistence to it. It's a wonderful little design. And it's got that element of persistence that can keep me as a sort of a more hardcore-ish sort of person. And a lot of the very hardcore people are coming back just to play it in the lunchtime because they just like that persistence. But possibly the best example of adding persistence is a game called Neopets. Many people out there familiar with Neopets? Yeah, there's a few hands. It flew under my radar for many years as well. It's a website based around casual games, and it has a lot of little casual games on the site. Many of the games are absolutely just awful things, and if you look at them until your eyes will bleed, literally, they're terrible games. But some of them are fun. They're simple little gem matching and puzzle games, the kind of stuff that I enjoy playing. But to keep you coming back, what Neopets does is every time you complete a game, you can submit your score. And when you submit your score, you get some Neo points. And you have a persistent character in the world of Neopia who collects these Neo points and can use them to buy things and to buy new equipment, to buy food, to feed himself, buy fancy scarves and fancy boots and fancy hats and weapons for the battle dome. So you've got that whole persistence thing going. Now this site is, it may terrify you to know that such a simple idea was bought by Viacom for like $160 million. it has so many hundreds of thousands of hits every day. It's just crazy. So persistence, a great thing.